I never met anyone who forgave any debts anyway, so I mean, maybe someone did in the old days in the ghetto, maybe the rabbi put pressure on people to do it, but I'm sure in Israel there's civil law. It's the law of the Ottoman Empire, I told you. It's the Ottoman Civil Code that's been updated somewhat into Israel modern law, but it's French Civil Code law. The Ottoman Civil Code was based on the French Civil Code. And, they took all these areas out from under the religious authority. Does it forbid or does it allow usury from strangers? That was about fellow Jews. So we've already basically answered it in the foregoing question, you see. At this point of view, it's equally condemned by the law of Moses and by the Talmud. We're generally forbidden, always on the score of charity, to lend upon interest to our fellow citizens of any persuasion. So when it's a matter of charity, again, you have to read that. I really don't have the time or the inclination or the patience to read all this, but it really is a lesson in itself to read these answers. So, okay, so there is our answer of the Jews of France, and we assume that they are, on this basis, supposedly being brought into French society. Now, a new situation occurs, which is covered in both Rudowski and in this book of excerpts that we have. That is the birth of Reform Judaism. And you can actually pinpoint the moment of the birth of Reform Judaism. Now you say, what's Reform Judaism? Oh, it's hard to say what most Jews are today. But basically, most people think Jews divide out into three categories: Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform. Although the lines between them get often blurred more or less, depending on where you live and so on. But Orthodox today, not everyone was Orthodox back then who was Jewish. There was no such thing as Reform Judaism at this point. Those people giving the answers to the French deputies, they are Orthodox Jews who know their Talmud very well, right? And know their Jewish history very well. Reform Judaism comes next. And it is an outgrowth, to some extent, of Mendelssohn. He didn't countenance it, but the people who followed him took the next steps to reform the Jewish religion in some way, to make it look more Christian, or make the practice of it look more like the way Christianity was practiced, so it wouldn't look or seem peculiar. So Jews could be good citizens without standing out, as it were. In the end, we're going to see things like pews, mixed prayer, men and women, not using prayer shawls, an actual choir, a cantor, a singer. A cantor, a singer is basically a German Yiddish word. Someone who's going to sing operatically the prayers, where Orthodox Jews used to basically sing it themselves. Orthodox Jews tended to pray at their own rate, not in unison so much. And so they sort of are going to look more like Christians across the board, but we're going to see where it happens. And then the reaction to this, not to Orthodoxy, but to Reform Judaism, is Conservative Judaism. What happens, as we'll see, Rudowski is really best in those areas, and if you read the chapters by him on that score, you'll get the whole historical background of it, good or better than I can even give it to you. And then with our documents here, we fill in the pieces of it. But the conservatives are going to say, as they develop in the Reform Judaism will begin around 1810 in Sisson's Germany, which is about 25 years after Mendelssohn. will actually begin at a place in Germany. And then the conservatives are already reacting to it. They're saying you're going too fast, in effect. You're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You have to find out which elements are really intrinsic elements to the Jewish religion and which are elements, like somewhat like Mendelssohn would have said, which are temporal, which would not destroy the culture and the religion by being changed or updated or, altered in some way. And this, the conservatives then are going to say you need an historical approach. To do this, you must carefully study history. So they're very interested in history. And you must carefully study history and see how these institutions or customs or ways of practice developed, so that you can have a proper basis on which to make a decision if they're intrinsic or superfluous or unintrinsic is a better word. So it was something I did want to, let's see, where was I here? It was something I did want to say about I never find my way around these things. Let's see. I think as far as Mendelssohn's children went, and some of Mendelssohn's heirs and disciples, Rudowski gives you a lot of these people and their names. For instance, he mentioned someone called Naphtali Hertz Vesely, 1725 to 1805, a poet, an observant Jew at the same time, learned secular subjects, and was a follower, let us say, of Mendelssohn. Someone else called David Friedlander, also a follower of Mendelssohn. Like in 1788, he founded the Free School in which German replaced Yiddish as the language. But in the next generation, there was more and more conversion. And this wasn't Mendelssohn's goals, 1780s to 1830s. For instance, I think you'll find the example in